So I'm done with the seminar that I mentioned at the last recording. At the end of the last recording, I mentioned that there was something being organized by the Box Office Incubator, another, what should I say, tech kind of ecosystem in Abuja. Their office is in the central area, central business district, rather. And so the seminar was on risk management. Now, I mentioned it to you guys because I figured even though it's not anything directly related to the wedding industry, or at least at the time I thought so, I figured if there were any gems I got from the seminar, I figured I'd come back and share with you guys over here on the podcast. And it's a good thing that I mentioned it. And I made some notes, and so I'm going to share some things with you guys right now. Now, the reason why I'm not waiting till tomorrow's recording is because I don't want to run the risk that I forget. And then plus, I wrote the notes on scribbles of paper, and you know how things can be with kids. You know, I go home, if the paper is lying around, the baby takes it, tears it up, and then I forgot. And then I would have forgotten what I was supposed to talk to you guys about the risk management seminar. Okay, first off, I trust that old listeners on the podcast will remember the last rant I did about how we wedding photographers and makeup artists don't keep the time, and how that has kind of how that has parlayed itself into how people think about wedding photographers. Okay, let me leave makeup artists out of that, so it doesn't. Yeah, let me just talk about photographers only. So I mentioned that it affects the way that people view us, and I think it has a bad effect on how much we can charge and the level of professionalism that we hold, the level of professionals that we hold ourselves out to be. So I had mentioned during that recording that we can do better and learn better if we look at our brothers and sisters in other industries, how they comport themselves, particularly in the tech space, and you'll see that there's a different way of doing business, and we don't always have to do this thing about being African time. And I'm talking to wedding photographers here, particularly. So, since then, I had given an example about how I was meeting an executive at Wood Lab. That's a software development company, and how the meeting didn't start on time. The meeting started well before it was supposed to start because I was early and she was early, and since we were both there, we began, and then we were able to save some time for the day. And I've been giving examples whenever I come across people in different spaces and different spaces in Nigeria and their approach to time. And this is going to be another example about how we can conduct ourselves better and hold ourselves to higher standards. So this program was organized by the Box Office Incubator. So these are largely tech people and consultants. And the program was scheduled to start at 11 o'clock. And guess what time the program started? The program started at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, the speaker had already begun. 11 o'clock, they were already streaming live on Instagram and wherever it is that it was supposed to be streamed. They started at 11 o'clock. And they are Nigerians just like we are. So this whole thing of African time is, for some reason, our brothers and sisters in the tech space don't seem to imbibe that kind of ethos that we have gotten really comfortable with. So wedding photographers, the event is... the bride says be there by 7, you come strolling in at 8, or it's a birthday party and the clients say be there at 4, and then you say, oh, you know what, African time, they never start on time, I'm just going to cruise in at 5. So look around. We have people, our brothers and sisters in other spaces, particularly in the tech space, and they seem to run a different calendar, a different ship than we do. So let's learn from them. So let me stop with that particular rant. So yes, the program started on time, we finished early, and it's because of that I can actually make this recording, because we finished on time. We can go about, do other things in the day, and I'll be able to have a quick 10 minutes to make this recording. So let's learn to be on time, start things on time. So one interesting thing that I got during the session was the what will I say? The facilitator, he spoke about our cultural attitudes towards risk management. That in the Nigerian setting, we have this idea of speaking positively and not our portion. And so, because of that, those people in the risk management industry, they have several hurdles to overcome, and this is one of them. That you can't even have the risk management conversation with a client. You can't even have that conversation of what is the worst possible thing that can happen and how do we plan for it, because the response is going to be, it's not my portion and do not surround me with bad vibes. And that is something that I figure we can relate to in the wedding space, because there was a time when one of my partners reached out to me and was having some health challenges. So we had a very matter of fact conversation. This is what is happening. This is what is going on. I'm going in for surgery on so date. In case I do not make it out alive, these are the projects that are ongoing. This is who you have to speak on concerning this. This is the person that has paid the deposit. These are the outstandings that need to be collected and blah blah blah. And at the time, I must admit, it was a very sobering conversation to have, because I've not met anyone approach things in that kind of manner, because I think what I'm used to is the Nigerian thing of you're done and you've come out of the whole situation, and then later on you're laughing with your boys, and then you now tell them about how you had this health scare and these and these and these, or what's going on. But to this guy's credit, he was really, really upfront and responsive about the whole thing. He called me in because he had several things pending, and we had that hard conversation. I'm flying to Lagos tomorrow. The surgery is on Saturday. If I don't make it, these and these and these are the outstanding, and this is how we're supposed to go forward. And I appreciated that conversation. And I guess those are not the kind of scenarios that the fellow had in mind when he was talking about risk management, the facilitator. But this whole idea of what is the worst that can happen, what are the contingencies that we can put in place, is something that I don't think we do very well in the wedding industry. And it's not because of something particular to us. From what the guy said, it just looked like it's part of our Nigerian culture that we don't want bad vibes. We don't want anyone to spoil our mojo, and we're always looking towards the best possible outcomes. That's what we always keep our minds towards. So I guess in your spare time, I still think that we should spend a whole lot more of our time worrying about growing the bottom line, because all these other issues about risk management and corporate strategy and all whatnot, those things don't really make sense, except if the heart of your organization is already beating and you're bringing in some sales. After all, what are you strategizing about, or what risks are you managing? So, yes, we should focus on getting things viable and off the ground, but we should also pay attention to that big question. In running this wedding photography practice, in running this wedding planning practice, in handling my pyrotechnic business, all these people that handle firecrackers and things of that nature, because I've seen some accidents happen. I've seen the dance floor catch on fire. I've seen a table napkin catch on fire, and I've seen a bride's hand get a little scalded because for some reason this fellow thought it was a good idea for the bride to hold the crackers. And I see wedding planners allow their brides to do that. So yeah, let me go on a rant about that. Please, wedding planners, do not allow your bride to hold a firecracker, or I'm not sure what those things are called. Those things that explode and with lots of lights like fireworks. You shouldn't allow your clients to hold that. So pay a little extra for that fancy gun thing. Like I've seen some DJs hold that gun thing where the firecracker is inside the gun, and then you pull the trigger and it ignites, and then you start shooting the light trails above all over your head. So please, wedding planners, make sure your clients pay a little bit extra money and get the gun instead. Sorry, I don't know much about pyrotechnics, so for you, for wedding industry professionals who handle, these sorts of things, firecrackers and all that fancy stuff. Sorry, I'm not using the right terms, but whatever it is, wedding planners, reach out. These things are available. Stop letting your brides and grooms hold these things on their hands. I've seen a bride hurt before at one of my weddings, one of the weddings I covered, but it wasn't the injury wasn't grievous. I think she just got scalded. Just burnt slightly. I think it was more emotional than physical, the harm. So like you people that handle all these incendiary stuff, you guys really have to have that risk management conversation. What happens if, because of firecrackers malfunctions, we burn down the wedding hall, or we destroy the bride's dress, or somebody from the bride's family gets injured, the wedding guests gets burnt with fire or something. So risk management conversations are conversations apparently that all of us should be having. And so it's not like I thought that risk management is a practice or is a discipline that has nothing to do with the wedding space. So that's it pretty much. Well, another thing, I also heard about the guy talk about the M&E process. That is their monitoring and evaluation process, which is similar to what I would call the follow-up process. And that's another example that I'm using to show to you guys about how these principles are universal and the principles apply. So for we in the wedding space, traditionally the term we have used is follow-up. You say, I'm following up on this person, I'm following up on that, I'm calling to follow up on this. So for other people, our tech people, so they're not calling it follow-up, they either call it customer success or they call it monitoring and evaluation, but the principles still apply. So that's it. Some of these principles appear to be universal, so whenever we find them, let's take them and see how we can apply them to our businesses. And that is all about the risk management seminar. So at tomorrow's recording, I will get back on track with our with the regular topics that we talk about on the podcast. So big takeaway: please, let's remember to do things on time, particularly wedding photographers, because there are other Nigerians out there who apparently don't run on African time like we do. So thanks for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer, Tavishima Ayede. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the normal recording slot tomorrow.